Hey guys, Joeboy here. Chapter 835 of One Piece has dropped. I don't think I need to say this, but spoiler alert, there will be spoilers. But let's just jump right into this. Lots of confirmation of theories from this chapter, more than I can actually remember from a single chapter. It's just amazing. Let's start with the big one, Big Mom's powers. She has the Soul Fruit. Which is an interesting title. There's some things to talk about here, but for the most part we predicted this because, to be honest with you guys, it was blatantly obvious to me, and I think to a lot of people, what her powers must be after the last time that we saw her specifically use her powers against Mr. Moscato. But in this chapter it's revealed that she has the Soul Fruit, and that with her Soul Fruit that she can extract life from people. And then she can also separate her soul, kind of like a Horcrux from Harry Potter, into little minions which can also receive bits of life force as well for her, which is kind of interesting. But the big takeaway point that I got from this that is kind of interesting is that now we have a full explanation about how Brook works in the world of One Piece. So we know that Big Mom's fruit is called the Soul Fruit, but it revolves around taking and dispersing life. And we see that Brook doesn't actually have an alive body, all he has is a soul. And so what this confirms for me is that all life comes from a soul in the world of One Piece. So it doesn't matter what body it is, whether it's an inanimate object or just, in Brook's case, just bones. As long as you have the soul, then you have life and you have humanity. However, there are some limitations of Big Mom's powers which are very interesting. First of all, you can't give this life force to a corpse. So this is not like Moria's ability, and I did a theory in which I discussed the possibility that Weevil is a creation of Big Mom because we have some possible ties between Miss Bakken and Big Mom. But that seems pretty much debunked after this chapter, honestly. And now I'll go back to the question of why is Weevil alive when it seems apparent that at some point he died. And again, the only real answer that we have to that is Moria. So perhaps Moria will enter the story again whenever we get closer to touching on Weevil. And so we also learn this chapter that Big Mom can't give that life force to someone else, and someone else is put in quotation marks. And honestly, what I'm gathering from this and the context of the situation is that the original host of the life force can receive that life force, but someone other than the original host who already has humanity cannot receive the life force Big Mom takes, which should include Big Mom as well, potentially debunking those theories that discuss that Big Mom can consume this life force to prolong her own life. I'm pretty sure at this point in time that only the original host can receive that life force back, and other than that, only things that do not currently possess humanity can consume that life force. And so the last thing related to the uses of Big Mom's powers that I want to talk about is that it's confirmed this chapter that Randolph the Rabbit received humanity and life from Big Mom's powers, also the crocodile as well, which was actually a theory that I made a couple weeks ago. It was actually based on speculation someone else made, but I really thought that that idea was really solid. It's what I believed, and it turned out to be the case, so we have a confirmation of a theory there. But I still think there's more that we need to learn about Randolph, which is that Randolph, despite also being like the other creatures that we see that have received life through Big Mom's powers, he's on a whole different level, a whole different plane than everyone else, which suggests to me that the life force that he received is of some significance, which is that he received life force from some strong warrior or something like that. I've also noticed the similarities between him and Mihawk, but I don't think that he received life force from Mihawk. That just seems pretty ridiculous at this point in time. But definitely, I believe that Randolph received life force from some strong warrior. Going into another theory that was confirmed this chapter relates to Madame Brulee's powers, which is the Mirror Fruit, which is pretty much, I think, what everyone was speculating. But it is now confirmed this chapter that that is her ability, and the uses of this are really intriguing. One of which that I actually discussed in my theory post about Madame Brulee's powers involves her being able to reflect attacks back at the user, which she showed this chapter, which is a really powerful ability, honestly. And then we got to see something new, which is not something that I considered, or anyone considered that I'm aware of, but she can make a mirror world. Basically trap someone in the, I guess, the mirror realm or something like that. You know, I don't really know, but that ability is just overpowered. as far as I'm aware. There doesn't seem to be any obvious way of getting out of that once you're trapped. So things aren't looking too hot for Carrot at the moment. And then the last major theory that was absolutely confirmed this chapter is that Lola is in fact Big Mom's daughter. I said it's been practically confirmed now for a month, but now it is officially confirmed. There can be no doubt, no naysayers out there. Lola is Big Mom's daughter. And so guys, I'm telling you, for a fact, at some point in time, Big Mom will help the Straw Hats. Or either now or in the future, whether that's a small favor or a future alliance long term, this is going to happen. And so let's get into the new bits from this chapter. First of all, that giant, who wasn't really a giant, that was stuck in the ground, was Lola's father this entire time. I don't think anyone speculated that, and if someone did, congratulations to them because they are a genius. But there was one, as far as I'm aware, one sign in which could have led to us predicting that, which is that if you just look at his face, he has the dumb face that Lola has. And also, I guess, a big head, but given the impression that we thought that he was a giant, it would have been pretty ridiculous to think that he was Lola's father, so really hard to predict, but honestly, really funny. And so I've speculated for a while that, he was some part of the forest, that he was planted there by Big Mom, but that's proven false from this chapter. He was actually just there because he had nowhere else to go. He'd sort of been tossed aside and was no longer relevant. And so what's interesting about this more than anything else is that apparently this is probably a trend that we can latch onto with the previous husbands of Big Mom, which is basically Big Mom hooks up with dudes and then tosses them aside. So are we going to meet other previous husbands of Big Mom that have been tossed aside? I think that might actually be likely. But we'll wait and see with that particular aspect. But definitely there's going to be a lot of men out there that are going to be feeling a little bit down and out after Big Mom rejected them. And so going back to Lola's father, he's still asking about the juice, and I think at this point it's fairly obvious that he will be some form of ally in the future chapters of One Piece. That his knowledge of what's going on will play a role, and I do believe that he will accompany the Straw Hats out of the forest or give them some sort of advice before they leave the forest. Additional advice other than what he's already done, especially given that Nami now knows that Big Mom is Lola's mother, and that this dude is Lola's father. So there's potentially going to be a conversation here between Nami and the mysterious giant. And so also another interesting aspect related to this scene is that we see that Charlotte Cracker, the 10th son of Big Mom, was sort of looming and lurking around them this entire time, and then appeared whenever the giant, but who's not a giant, Lola's father sort of started giving away too much information and basically reprimanded him for doing that. And so what's most interesting here is that he was in the forest this entire time. I think that there would be no other reason for him to sort of appear randomly unless he was sort of doing something in the forest the entire time. So, what aspect of the forest was Charlotte Cracker a part of? Was he the one that was controlling the time gadgets? I'm not 100% sure, but it's really interesting that he was hidden this entire time and only appeared to stop Lola's father from revealing too much information. That's really interesting. And so another thing that we learn this chapter is that the residents of Totland contribute a bit of their life force in order to stay there. And they're given the option of giving their life force or just leaving the island. That's basically the toll that they have to pay to be protected by Big Mom. And so a lot of people will latch onto this probably and think of it as further evidence that Big Mom is evil. But I want you to pay special attention to the residents. They get a choice. They can choose to leave, but they choose not to. And we actually get to see one woman who gets her life force taken away from her. And she seems really pleased, honestly, to give away her life for Totland. So what this leads me to believe is that the residents of Totland are very happy with their situation here, even knowing that they're paying a bit of their life force in order to stay there, that it's worth it. Which I think, again, further paints the idea that Big Mom's Islands are really the place to be if you're of another race and you're looking for safety. And so now I want to draw your guys' attention to a question, and I have a theory on this, but I'll include it in its own video. But the question here is that Luffy has been around Lola's father this entire time, sort of collecting all these fake Straw Hats and Carrot and Sanjis, etc. And then at the same time, Nami, Chopper, and Carrot were also around Lola's father. Specifically, Chopper was causing havoc, and they never seemed to meet up, despite all these events happening in one location, which suggests that there are two Lola's fathers. I think that this has something to do with Madame Brulee's powers, and I will go in depth with this theory and compile more information in the actual theory post. But the question here is, why hasn't Luffy and Nami met up previously? Since they've all been doing everything in the same location. And so guys, here is the biggest topic of this chapter and the biggest reveal of this chapter. Big Mom has some sort of plan for the Straw Hats. That is evident. She does not want to kill them. This is practically confirmed this chapter. She wanted Madame Brule and everyone else to distract the Straw Hats for a bit of time, but did not order their deaths. And probably ordered them to be captured, but for the most part to be played around with, to be distracted for a certain amount of time. And so what is Big Mom's plans with the Straw Hats? We also get a little bit of information added onto this, which is that Madame Brule reveals that Chopper would be an awesome addition to Big Mom's collection of exotic animals. And so, honestly, the suggestion that I'm getting here is that Big Mom wants the Luffy and the crew to join her. That's honestly how it looks to me. There could be other facets of this as well. I've discussed previously that perhaps she wants to marry Luffy, as ridiculous as that sounds. There's actually some evidence to back that up, given that all of her daughters seem to have marriage themes, and they got that from someone, and it's probably Big Mom. And Luffy seems like someone of merit that might attract someone like Big Mom, who loves collecting husbands and having children with them to make strong kids to build up her forces. So that could be in play as well. But definitely, I've been saying this for a while, but pretty much confirmed this chapter. Big Mom's sole objective is not to kill the Straw Hats. It's perhaps to collect them. But yeah, guys, I kind of wish that there was more actual reveals from this chapter, but the amount of confirmations of theories was just amazing. In fact, if we had taken away all the theories, there would have been a lot revealed from this chapter. But as it stands, the theory community did a really good job and predicted a good amount of the reveals from this chapter. But let me know what you guys think about it. Let me know if you noticed something that I didn't notice. Like the video if you liked the video. I'd appreciate it if you subscribed, and as always, dudes, have a wonderful day.